Welcome to the Investor Coaching Show, a podcast to help you get an insider's view of the financial world and escape common investment traps. We look at the financial news of the day and help you make sense of it so you can relax about money. And here's your host, Paul Winkler.
And welcome. This is the Investor Coaching Show. I'm Paul Winkler, talking money and investing. Joined this hour by Mr. Jim Wood up in the Goodlettsville office. Man, good to have you back on.
Yeah, glad to be here.
All right, glad to be anywhere, right?
It's preferable to the alternative.
Yes, it is. It is preferable to the alternative. Okay, so Jim, I was did the Channel 5 Plus thing this week, and had a big time with Ben Hall, and there was something that came up, and I thought it would be fun to have you and I banter back and forth about it. I'll throw you.
Does it have to be witty banter?
We'll just throw this one at you because it hit me broadside this week. I did not see this coming. So the topic was we were talking about insurance companies. We were talking about how we love these insurance agents and the annuities and how often people are recommended products that are really, really great for the insurance company, really, really great for the insurance agent, make a lot of money for the financial person, and they sound really good on paper. But are they that great for the consumer, the buying public, the person that actually buys this for their retirement planning? So check this out. You ready?
Gotcha.
Texas court tosses Biden-era DOL fiduciary rule. Handing win to industry groups. This is in investment news. So it said federal judge in Texas has vacated the Labor Department's 2024 fiduciary rule for retirement advice, rolling back a key Biden-era attempt to expand when brokers and insurance agents must act as fiduciaries to retirement investors. Okay, so go talk a little bit about fiduciary and what the general idea behind it has always
fiduciary,
been.
The general idea behind it is that you always have to act in your customer's best interest. Yep. And that means putting their interest above yours, and keeping as many conflicts of interest out of the process as possible.
Yeah. And when you hear commercials for investment advisors saying, we act as a fiduciary, what goes through your mind?
Well, to me, it's just such a gray area. And anytime there's any gray area, it's going to be abused. It's not cut and dry who is and who isn't. It becomes a marketing tool and a way to, put that little hat on. I mean, I was introduced to that early in the business when I was told, well, if you're selling this product, you wear this hat, which was the hat of a fiduciary. But if you sell the other product, then you have to take off the fiduciary hat and put on the hat of the salesperson.
And how does the person know that the hat is off? I mean, if I'm looking at you, I can see whether you're wearing a hat or not, and if your hat changes.
Well, right. And you're supposed to tell them, well, okay, now I'm stepping out of that role, and now I'm going to be in this role.
What's the proof you told them?
Yeah.
What's the proof?
Well,
paperwork.
Yeah.
Which, who reads?
Yeah.
That is exactly it.
Yeah.
And what you said a second ago, dead on, marketing. It is marketing. And as I've often said, hey, you don't have to think about this. Don't worry about it. I'm a fiduciary. And then, here, sign this little thing here and let's go. And then, of course, if anything and when something goes wrong, you signed this paper. I didn't know what I was signing. Right. You signed this paper.
Yeah, the document's, 27 pages long. And I mean, it's just the way that all documents are these days. It's like you're buying a house with just signing up for an investment account.
Oh, yeah. It's awful. And then you sign up that, if you have a conflict, God forbid you have a conflict, then is it settled in a court of law with 12 people on a jury? No, it's arbitration. You have a bunch of people in the industry deciding if you have a case or not. It's just stacked against the investor.
Yeah, I mean, we get to ask that fiduciary question a lot. Are you a fiduciary? And of course, we embrace that.
all the time.
And-
We don't have any other hats.
Yeah.
I don't have a big wardrobe.
And we don't have a company behind us. And that's the thing with so many of these other situations is there's a company behind you that wants you to sell products to make the company more profitable, which is really what companies should do. But then they pass incentives on to the advisors to sell those products that make the company the most money. So pretty soon the incentives are lining up for the company and the person selling those products. And the last part of that equation is the people on the other side of the table that don't have those incentives, and they're not always even aware of the incentives that the companies are giving the advisors to sell certain products.
Yeah, and you'll have certain products, like, for example, insurance products. When I did life insurance, I sold life insurance. I was terrible life insurance sales. I didn't believe in this stuff. But there were products out there that on first year, we had FYCs is what we call them, first year commissions. And some of the products would pay you 50% on the first year, the premiums that were paid. Well, there's some companies that paid 40%. And, like term insurance products, they had really low FYCs, because the premium was low, but also the percentage of the premium. If you sold a certain dollar amount, the percentage that you got paid for a lot of the insurance companies that I represented was super, super low. But you had some of the whole life products and universal life products, the commissions were really, really high. Or you had some annuities that, will pay a 4% commission. And you'll have another annuity that'll pay 15% commission. And, you might figure out some way, somehow, that there was some feature of the product that paid 15% commission that the client just had to have. Like I said, I was a terrible salesman, so I wasn't really good at that. But the reality was there were a lot of guys and ladies around me that did find ways to justify selling the higher commission or higher percentage commission products.
Well, right. When I was at the insurance company broker-dealer where I started, the people with all the nice offices that went on the nicest trips and everything, those were all the people that sold the most annuities.
Yeah, get on the boat.
Yeah. And when we'd have the wholesalers come through and, everybody was always trying to outmaneuver the other company and, okay, we have this new benefit. No, our benefit's now better. And especially that kind of in the 1990s and even in the mid-2000s, it was really, pushing new products and things like that. And they would come out and with the advisors, the things that they talked about the most were not how these benefited the client. The things they talked about was, okay, if you sell so much of this, you make this much money. You get this much in convention credits that send you on the trips, that get you your 401k match or get your health benefits and things like that. And, they would talk about, the things you had to tell the client in terms of this is how it's going to benefit you.
Yeah.
But they didn't do a lot of math.
Yeah. Well, and this is folks, it's watching the sausage get made when you hear this kind of stuff. What's going on behind the scenes that you just don't realize. And it's frustrating because it happens all the time. And the people that are in the industry, they tend to be nice people. You like them. So your emotions, if you have 80, 90, 100% of your financial decisions being made on emotion, sometimes it's greed. Sometimes it's fear, but sometimes it's just trust, which is just because I like the person. They remind me of my grandpa or they remind me of my a friend, or they remind me of somebody and I like them. They're nice. They acknowledge me. They ask about my kids. They ask about, where I went on vacation. They're just nice people. And we bypass really thinking about what we're doing and why we're doing it. So this is a lot of the industry. Okay, so you think, well, what if we could make sure that everybody has to be a fiduciary? What if we could we protect people? Well, it says, in a final judgment issued March 17th, the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas set aside the retirement security rule, definition of the investment advice fiduciary, along with a package of related amendments. A Texas court decision comes roughly 4 months after the DOL, under the current Trump administration, moved to end its defense. And in essence, the Insured Retirement Institute says this. Insured Retirement Institute, which means insurance, right? which was part of the group, framed the outcome as a win for retail investors seeking access to commission-based advice and annuities. Oh, I know. There's just people out there just lining up. I just want to pay commission so bad I can't stand it. Oh, can I please? Really? Really? Oh, my goodness. Consumers no longer face the threat of losing access to their choice of professional financial guidance or retirement products due to poorly crafted, unnecessarily Department of Labor regulation. And I said this all along. I wasn't a fan of the regulation simply because people were able to get around it. They were able to change hats like Jim was talking about.
Yeah.
They were able to bypass it. Ugh. In a separate statement, the Securities Industry and Financial Markets Association and Financial Services Institute said that they exceeded their statutory authority. Blah, 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 blah. And, you look at this and you go, what on earth? Who is cheering for this? I'll tell you who is cheering for this. The insurance industry. There was a joint statement. I'm looking through this article and I don't see it. Maybe it was a different article that I saw it. But it was, let's see. I don't know if it was there. No, it's not in that one either. It's not the DOL thing. Yeah, I don't know where the heck that was, but it named all of these insurance industry groups that were just giddy about this whole thing. That ding dong, the witch is dead.
Yeah, but is it dead, or is it now, or did it say what, like, is it going on to another court that's going to appeal it and re-look at it, or is it just okay, it's vacated?
DOL didn't even show up for the court hearing. They didn't even show up. It was uncontested, gone. So that kind of tells you where things are going.
Yeah,
in my humble opinion. Will it ever get revisited? I don't know. I just think this is you better beware yourself. Buyer, beware.
Well, that's the thing how I feel. And I mean, I'm anti-regulation in general.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to see from something like that is that people really understand the products, that not that they're sugar-coated and told how great they are, and then there's 27 pages of disclosures that kind of suggest otherwise or things can happen, but the people are walked through exactly what they're buying, how it's likely to perform, how it compares to other things, over long periods of time, that type of stuff. And if people really understood, then by all means buy the product.
I just found an article. Yeah, agree. I just found another article. You ready for this one? Trump's DOL has no current plans for fiduciary rulemaking. And, there's a part of it, there is this idea. I mean, let's look at the food industry. Let's look at what's going on right now. Is there a double standard here? In the food industry, we want to make people aware that there are foods that are leading to bad stuff, dyes in foods and things like that are causing problems. You're smiling. You're smirking. I can tell you, I can read your mind, Jim. It's like he's got some wiseacre comment coming.
No, it was just the Easter robin eggs, the malted milk eggs.
Yes.
The blue dyes and things like that. I have a bag of them at home, so I'm not talking against them.
All right. So you're sitting there going, hypocrite. I got that stuff.
Yeah.
No, but here's the point. Why is it that we're having this big push to try to create better foods? Because it's complicated. I don't know what's in a food that could cause me health problems down the road because it's complicated how our bodies work. So if you add a food and it creates like a greater odds of having schizophrenia, or creates greater odds of ADHD, or creates greater odds of whatever, fill in the blank, whatever it is. I don't know that as a consumer. I can't look at that robin egg, thing and tell them that's going to cause a problem because it's just way too complicated for us.
Yeah.
So what the government does is steps in and says, hey, maybe we shouldn't allow this stuff to be in here, right? But yet on the other side, which is a very equally, if not more complicated area of our lives, our finances, we're not having any protections. And I'm not saying go, have protections. I am saying I'm kind of like, hey, keep the government out of a lot of stuff, But I can kind of see it. You know what I mean? I can kind of see it where you have the government step in and go, hey, you know what? That is stupid. Don't add a bunch of dyes that cause all kinds of problems down the road in the foods. And don't go and tell me you got an annuity that has this return that will give me exposure to the stock market and has no risk. Or have some guy going on TV telling me he's got this liquid product that gives me a 10% return with no risk whatsoever and total liquidity features. But then you go and scan the disclosure and you read that it's for accredited investors that the government could give a rip whether they lose their shirt. And it doesn't have liquidity, and they can actually dry up the liquidity anytime that they want. And the interest rate is not guaranteed, and that can go away at any want. And you got different tranches and all. And you don't do this.
You know, it's funny that the program you're talking about, they didn't used to talk about accredited investors in the commercials, and they do now.
Oh, really?
So apparently, they must have been called out or something on that.
Oh, that's interesting.
Their early commercials, I do not remember.
And did you see anything in the
about.
commercials where they talked about the state of Massachusetts, bringing them to court and, how that ended up? Did you see anything about that? No, you didn't see anything about that, did you?
Yeah, that commercial wasn't quite that long.
No, it wasn't that long. Oh, it just makes me crazy. Paul Winkler, Investor Coaching Show, along with Jim Wood. We're going to come back right after this with more. I'm sure we have a lot to rail about. We'll be right back. Hey, just a note to you podcast folks, we just came out with a retirement income guide, and I'm super excited about this. There are all kinds of myths about taking income in retirement. People worry about running out of money, and rightfully so, because a lot of these myths can actually cause that. Now, the myths that you typically hear about, number one, dividends, living off dividends in retirement. Real estate, life insurance as a retirement investment, and annuities, and interest-bearing accounts, and target date funds. There are all kinds of things out there. What I want to do is put something together that walks through why those things are problematic, number one. Number two, the other thing that I wanted to do is walk through the evidence-based research on taking income in retirement. And we got a ton of data going all the way back to 1900. What's the logic behind it? And it's intensely logical. So we put that together, and all you have to do to download that, making it super simple, just go to paulwinkler.com/relax, and you can actually get into that very easily right there. So I would urge you to do that. Check it out, because I think you're going to really like it. paulwinkler.com/relax. All right, we're back here on the Investor Coaching Show. Paul Winkler along with Jim Wood. Any kind of final thoughts regarding that whole fiduciary thing just being bye-bye, Jim?
Well, to me, again, I don't think in terms of whether they make the rules or not, much is going to change. As much as you like say, okay, you could trust that. If they have this fiduciary rule and somebody says they're fiduciary, their business structure is a certain way, that they're aligned and acting in your best benefit. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the intention, but that never seems to be the result.
So, and where did this really fall? I mean, think about this DOL thing. What was the DOL controlling? 401k rollovers.
Yeah, retirement plans.
Right? Yeah, retirement plans. Okay. So what happens, you have a 401k at work, and you're trying to decide, does it make sense for me to roll this to an IRA? And a lot of times, there are really good reasons, because level of diversification, can be really suspect. Because 401ks, let's face it, one of the things that has happened in the 401k industry is that they have found through psychological research that too many choices confuse people. So people won't engage in their 401k if they have too many things to choose from. Then target date funds have been kind of the rule, the default choices. And I have whole things. If you want to go and look at my website, paulwinkler.com, you'll see all kinds of videos on that. But you had, target date funds. Kind of what are your thoughts on that?
Well, target date funds, I've always thought were just there so people can make a decision, because you get somebody who's never invested, they're given a list of 20 to 30, whatever choices, and they have to figure out what's appropriate, and that makes it easy. Pick the date closest to when you think you're going to retire, boom, you're done. Mm-hmm. And so rather than them being stuck by having to make a decision so nothing happens, they can make an easy decision, get over that hump, and invest their money. It doesn't matter. And then they're set up, too, to protect the employer from any liability, which, great, that's good for the employer. employer. But of course, that simplifies an investment decision that is definitely not likely to be in that person's best interest who's getting stuck into that fund either by default or they actively choose it when they don't really know how that thing's put together in the first place.
And when we look at so the target date, the problem that you run into, and there are all kinds of controversy. Matter of fact, nobody wanted those things, Jim. Back in 2009, 2010, I remember I would say, this isn't the greatest of choices. And people would be like, yeah, you're telling me. But what were they looking at? They were looking at past performance, a dead decade where large U.S. stocks had no return whatsoever. So it was really easy to talk people out of it then. Then you had this period of time where you had large U.S. companies rocked and rolled for a while, and everybody wanted them. And now it's like you hear these bragging rights from companies like Vanguard that 70, 80% of people in retirement plans use the target date funds. And they forgot all about the dead decades and the periods of time where that area of the market had no return. The other thing that they forgot was this. There's a tremendous amount of research that shows that the mix of stocks to bonds in these portfolios changes in a way that is one size fits all, but it's usually not really great. And it goes against the research on what you should be doing as far as how much to hold in stocks and bonds at various ages. I mean, you'll get to retirement age on these funds, and I routinely see, Jim, that it's 40% or less of the portfolio is sitting in stocks.
Right. It's as soon as you start talking about that, because I take notes to come back to stuff, and I wrote cash drag.
Oh, did you?
Right, because that's including like fixed and bonds and things like that.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. Their glide paths are way too aggressive towards fixed income and cash. That it can have a huge drag on your portfolio that has to last you through a multi-decade retirement. It may be appropriate to reduce your equity allocation as you get closer to retirement and more closer to spending the money. But these things go that direction, and they go that direction quickly because it reduces the volatility, and that reduced volatility makes a lot of people not pay as close attention.
That's right.
And so when the market does struggle, they say, oh, well, it's going up and down, and you don't get the swings that you might otherwise. And so it kind of pacifies you, puts you to sleep to where, okay, you don't move the money, because that's the main thing, is they keep the money.
That's right. What's their job? As I always say, their job is to keep their job. You think their job is to make this, do the best that they can with my money. And I'm like, no, I would love you if, as my investment manager, if that was your real philosophy, that you really wanted to do was in my best interest. But the reality of it is their job is to keep their job. And you've got to be really aware if that's what's happening. And, so they'll keep the choices limited, so they have very, very few choices as far as different funds that you can choose from. So a lot of times it does make sense to actually use an IRA. But what is happening right now? When we come back, I'm going to talk about the impetus and what are some of the advantages to other groups that you may not think about regarding moving your money to annuities, which is really what this DOL thing is all about. The insurance industry is giddy about getting rid of this rule so that they can move more of your money into annuities and other products that insurance companies sell. We'll do that right after this. It's kind of a non-obvious thing, but I think it's worth talking about. Paul Winkler, Investor Coaching Show, along with Jim Wood. We'll be back right after this. Hey, this is Paul Winkler. Hope you enjoyed today's edition of the Investor Coaching Show. If you want to learn more about what we do, go to our website, paulwinkler.com. Until next time, I'm Paul Winkler, reminding you that I believe that more educated investors are more confident investors, and confident investors are more successful investors. Have a great one. Advisory services offered through Paul Winkler, Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor. The opinions voiced and information provided in this material are for general informational purposes only and not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine what investments are appropriate for you, please consult with a financial advisor. Paul Winkler, Inc. does not provide tax or legal advice. Please consult your tax or legal advisor regarding your particular situation.